Welcome back to the Fathers of the Future podcast. I am joined by my man, the QB DADCAST, Casey Jacox. Welcome to the show, brother.
What's going on, man? Thank you for having me on. I'm honored to join you.
Yeah, it's been great. We were connected by a mutual friend, Corey Leadon, episode number 30 of Fathers of the Future, who lives here in Arizona. And you guys have known each other for a few years now, doing some work together. And he said, you got to meet this guy. He's very similar. He walks the talk. He's all about fatherhood and the journey. Tell us, have you always been this excited about being a dad?
Yeah. I mean, I think I always knew we wanted to have kids. And then I remember when my son Ryder, so I have two kids. My son Ryder's 14. My daughter Riley is 12. We have very similar ages as your kids. And when I was, probably would have been when he was 10 months old. And I worked in corporate for 20 years, pretty stressful business development, sales leadership, management training role. And when he was 10 months old, something like that, I remember getting home at 6:45 and he's going to bed at 7. And I just felt like a hole, like this is not what it's about. And, in a sales job, you're pretty much at the mercy of your customers, and you're at the mercy of all hours, and not like you're working in a bank. And I remember I went to my boss. I said, listen, and I was lucky enough. I had way more success at this company than I ever thought I would have. And I was our number one rep nationally at the time. And I said, I can't keep working like this. Like I'm going to burn myself out. She's like, what do you want to do? I'm like, I think I need to just get here a little earlier, leave at 4 if I can. And then I'll just, I'll be available on my cell. I'll drive home, but I need a couple core hours when I'm just family. And then I'll get online at night, make sure I'm utilizing my CRM, documenting stuff, cleaning up email. And from that moment, I felt like it was just I felt so much more peace and happiness, because it was about I could at the time give him a bottle. I could read him a story. I could teach him how to do certain things. Obviously nothing handy, because I'm not handy whatsoever. I could teach him maybe how to use a glue stick, but joking aside, it was that was to me what it was about. And I knew that I always wanted to be present. That's the thing. My parents were awesome at. They went to everything. My dad almost bankrupt himself going to all my college football games. And so, yeah, I mean, long-winded answer. I think that's what, to me, fatherhood's about. And my wife says it well. She was, Case, we got 18 summers to make an impact on these kids. And obviously you're going to be with them as they get older, but before they're gone. And then your goal is prep them as best as you can before you release them, So anyway, that's on my heart.
And we've heard a lot lately, the statistics that show that your kids actually stop listening to your voice at about 12. You're no longer the primary influence or source of information at 12. And that's about the time that they're getting cell phones and that they're looking up to YouTubers or athletes, but they're getting a lot less from us and a lot more from the noise. So those first 12 years are so pivotal and crucial. And we shared it a little on your podcast just a few moments ago. I'm looking at 5 years of, holy cow, I want to hold on to this. And I don't ever want to, coulda, woulda, shoulda, but I want to hold on to it just a little longer. I want to watch that sunset just one more time. And so my reflective point now is on the other end. It's on the back end. Yours as well. No more kids?
It would be a miracle. I'd be a medical miracle if I could pull it off. Yeah, we're done.
Beautiful. So we've both been soldered, is what you're saying.
Yeah. I got a great story about that too.
Go for it.
This is so random, but so most people go to Dr. Snip or one of these doctors that that's what they do. I actually went to my general, my doctor, my family doctor. He's my dad's doctor. Sorry, my in-laws doctor, the whole family's doctor. And the guy's on boards. He's done vasectomies. I'm like, if I can't trust him with my own, pardon my French, my junk, yet I trust him with my son, something's wrong. I'm like, I'll go with him. It'd be perfect. So we do it. And, the next day, well, it's pretty funny. Then he prescribed a medicine afterwards. And it was a sex prescription. He said I had to have sex 68 times to make sure I was good. And then it was right around Halloween actually. And so this is like my weird personality. And I hopefully this is okay for your audience, but it's kind of funny. So my kids were young, they were on Barney, but my testicles turned like bright purple. I was like, what is going on? This is not good. And I was like, well, I know what I'm going for Halloween. I'm going to go as Barney. So, and why I just shared that on the podcast is now embarrassing and makes no sense, but that's how random I am.
It's perfect. And I love the randomness or the uniqueness, as you call it. I love that. It makes you different, right? It makes us all different, but when we can laugh at ourselves, it's such a relieving feeling. I'll give you my quick testicle story. I booked the appointment and I guess I never went back. I did the consult and I didn't go back for the actual work. I had forgotten about it. A couple years goes by. My wife gets immensely sick. And what we found out was the birth control IUD that she had got lost. She was one of the 1% where it floats away and lands on a kidney. And so she had an emergency surgery. She was in the hospital 5 days. That for me was the reality check that I needed to go and be a man about my sex. I've been having sex with my wife since we were 15, 16. Back in the day, her mom knew and was okay with it and took her to her general doctor, who said, I will not prescribe her birth control. And so that was our first experience with Planned Parenthood in 1996. Fast forward, and I had to own it. So I went back to the radiologist and I said, hey, how's it going? I went through the process and he's looking at the notes and he goes, oh yeah, we met 3 years ago. You didn't come back for the procedure. And I was like, deer in headlights. You sure it was me? Yeah. Luke Kayam, Social Security. So I had to own the fact that I didn't show up for the actual procedure. But I got it done.
Nice.
I parted ways. Everything works. No more kids. We're good to go.
Right. Exactly. You got one of each and you got man-to-man defense. You're in good shape.
Good to go. So talk to us about football. Obviously with the Quarterback Dadcast, when did your football career begin? What were some of the highs and lows? And ultimately, what is your relationship like with the sport now that you have a son who's a teenager?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, football for me was, I started playing in 7th grade. I was a soccer kid growing up and I knew I wanted to play football. My mom wouldn't let me play tackle till then. And I was, the typical kid where you're not aggressive. So, what a better position to play quarterback. You don't have to get hit as bunch. And then I found that football, as I got more experience, I didn't like being one of those kids that wasn't aggressive. And I was like maybe self-conscious about it. And then, you get picked on a little bit. And so then as I got later in my high school career, I wanted to just try to run guys over. And obviously that didn't go over too well. And I never really was a running quarterback, but I was lucky to play in college, played for a school called Central Washington University. But how I got there was a lot of adversity. One of the biggest piece of adversity I've ever been through in my entire life. What happened to me my September of my senior year in high school, when my junior year, I started my junior year, we were okay. And I beat out a kid who way better athlete than me. He ended up playing baseball, AAA for the Yankees. And a lot of hard work went into it. Which is, I'll save it for another story, but just imagine I squeezed every ounce of athletic ability out of my body, every ounce. And so we go to my senior year. That summer before the senior year started, I went to a couple football camps, had some surprising success. Specifically, the University of Washington football camp was named quarterback of the camp, and I couldn't believe it. I was like, "Are you sure you got the right dude?" I knew I was throwing it around the yard pretty good, but I didn't think I was the best. And so that's kind of when the power of people speak confidence in you, speak truth into you, you start believing in yourself. And so fast forward to that. About a month later, we're at the Jamboree. And for those who don't know, it's like a pre-practice game before your real season begins. And the gentleman I beat out my junior year, he was playing tight end for us. And so now, and we were crushing these teams. We were like, man, this is gonna be a sweet senior year. All the hard work, the weight room, the camps, the running, everything. And the last play of the Jamboree, I get put back in, not sure why, but I did. And I ended up breaking my foot in 4 spots. Oof. And now I had surgery 2 hours later and I was done for the year. Now the gentleman that beat that I beat out now, who's playing tight end, he now has to play quarterback. And so as a captain, I'm still a captain, but life goes on. They can't, Casey, we feel sorry for you, but we got to prepare for a first game of the season. So I was like depression, but I didn't even know what depression was, just feeling sorry for myself. I was a horrible teammate those first 3 games. I wanted him to do bad. I wanted him to play bad. This is my team. Why did this take from me? Like this negative mindset. And I finally, after about 3 games, went to my high school football coach, Marty Osborne, who was a massive mentor in my life. And I said, Coach, I am not a captain. I need help. I'm struggling. I need help. Like I need to figure out a way. I need to get clarity in what role can I play in this team. And he was so proud of me for having the vulnerability to come tell him that. And he goes, Casey, you know this offense better than I do at times. How about you go up in the booth and help me call plays, be my offensive coordinator? And right when he told me that, like all the anger, all the frustration, all the negative teammate thoughts just sucked out of my body. And now I had purpose. And I remember I went down and gave a little speech to the team. And there was even one time when the quarterback who had to play was late to a practice, and I just gave it to him. And I was like, bro, I said, I want to play here so bad. And you're going to do that to me and this team. I said that you're better than that. You will never be late again, ever. And not that I was trying to big time him, but I was just like, I worked so hard for something, and to see someone not take it serious. And he ended up breaking our single season passing yardage record, 20-year record. He took us to the playoffs first time in 20 years. And he was named second team all league, all things that I would have wanted to do. And I had to just watch. So what an amazing life lesson on humility, vulnerability, attitude, mindset, leadership, teamwork, that now I use those same skills as a father. And so now when it helped me in business, and now our kids, being the similar ages as yours, they now are asking questions about this stuff. And I don't have to be the Uncle Rico as much from Napoleon Dynamite. It's a great lesson to share, because like I want my kids to go through adversity. As hard as it is to see your kids fail, and I can't imagine how hard this was on my mom and dad to watch me. And I still think, like, how the heck did Central Washington say, yeah, we'll give this guy a chance? And they always say I was like a kid that's a Division I AA guy that sneaked through the cracks, and I ended up playing Division II. But amazing memories, so many great teammates. Central Washington football is like a quarterback hotbed. There's guys like John Kitten, I played in the league forever. A guy named Mike Riley, who was won a Grey Cup MVP. Zach Hill, who was your ASU offensive coordinator. He played quarterback right when I left Central Washington. I always give him a hard time. Like I was number 2 on all the lists at Central, and then Zach ended up taking me down. I said, bro, you played for 4 years. I only played for 2. You should have beat me out. All those records. But no, I mean, football's a great game. And then your other question about my son. So my son played flag football. And, he sees dad's, body breaking down a little bit with his back. And, I never pushed it. And I want him to do, this is, his journey, just like my daughter's, her journey too. And he loves basketball, but he loves golf. He's a pretty good golfer. He's, 12 handicap for a 14-year-old, and never had a coach, I'm more of his mindset coach, like attitude, effort, swing easy, little small things we do from here and there. But and I'm glad he's not playing football. I mean, I think times have changed. I love the sport. It shaped me, but I know that golf can shape my son. I know basketball can shape my son. And we all got different paths. So anyway,
the adversity that you faced in high school, your senior year with your broken foot, anything similar to that since? Anything similar to that as a father? Any challenges, complications that you guys have had to deal with yourself?
It's funny, knock on, well, I take that back. Nothing too bad, scary family wise. I saw my son, unfortunately, have 2 seizures. One of them I saw him at firsthand. And that was the closest I've ever had experience to PTSD. And my wife, God love her, she is the balanced one. I played quarterback, and I was always the calm one, but at the house, sometimes I'm the freak out dad, like, oh my God, they okay? My wife's like, chill, it's okay. I'm like, okay, you're right. It's like that motherhood gift. But when my son had a seizure, I was by myself, and I mean, full blown grand mal who was unconscious for close to 20 minutes, and 911. I went in the ambulance with him. It was like, and then, after he was okay, we never really knew why it happened. We think it was due to gut issues. And, but in my mind, I just believe that I've been through tough times before, and I got to just focus on staying present, staying neutral with my thoughts. I acknowledge the negative what's going on, but be positive. And, I had dreams afterwards where my daughter she'd wake me up, Daddy, why is Ryder shaking? Why is Ryder shaking? And, that was obviously not fun to go through. And I think, like, from a business perspective, maybe more on a lighter note, like I went through some of the biggest wins in my former company history. I was part of, like, something specifically, one of the largest deals in company history, one of the largest fails in the company history. And one of the best things I'm probably most proud of is when the vice president of this company was my customer. She goes, Casey, the day you won this, the day you lost this, you're the same guy. I couldn't tell a difference. And so I think back to, like, the adversity I went through, like, back to your question, I think that's what it's from. It's from, I just rely back on, man, when you thought the world was going to end, like, when negative things happen. I mentioned this to you before when we talked, like Tony Bennett, I don't know if it's his quote, but I heard him say it. Adversity is life's golden ticket. We have to just choose, like, why, instead of thinking, oh my God, this sucks, just like COVID, we're all getting picked on, but what are we going to do to make it better? Right. I've played more games with my kids. I've watched more movies with my kids. I joked with my son this morning. I'm like, I joked with my son. I'm like, hey, Dad's, he's got to leave tomorrow. He had to book a flight. He's like, where are you going, Dad? I'm like, well, I qualified for Jeopardy. Rest in peace, Alex Trebek, by the way. I qualified for Jeopardy because that's, like, our new thing as a family. I got like 12 right last night.
Wow.
So, I know, dude. Not bad for a football guy.
Yeah.
So, but it's stuff like,
yeah.
I was gonna say, it's stuff like that like we just are embracing. It stinks. Like, you can't see your friends. I don't get to see my friends as much either, but we got each other, and that's all we got. And so let's have fun. And when you're having a bad day, let's talk about it. But we can't allow a bad day to have another bad day, to have a bad week, a bad month. We're not going to allow that. We're going to talk about it. And it's brought us closer as a family. So anyway, long-winded answer. Yeah, by all means, that moment shaped me. I'm 44. I still think about that every day. And I love telling that story because it's, I'm sure there's parents out there with high school kids that they lost their senior season because of COVID. They're not gonna be able to play. Maybe they lost a college seat. It sucks. I'm not saying it doesn't suck. However, something positive can come from it if you use it in the right way. I truly believe that.
Yeah, we talked a lot about that in your show, in the QB DADCAST, about using adversity and challenges, pain, problems, all of it as your story, right? And how every great movie, it's not just this wow, fight scene at the end and all the bad guys die. You got to go through the ups and the downs, and getting the girl and losing the girl and having the children and having to face adversity and problems and pain. That's the path, right? You got someone like Ryan Holiday who writes the book, Ego is the Enemy and the Obstacle is the Way. Man, now that we know what we know at 44 and 42 respectively, now it's like, ooh, it's dark and scary and cold over there. It's warm and sunny and beautiful here. Let's go here first, because it's going to make that even warmer and sunnier.
Yeah.
And so we search and seek for some of these challenges to face. We've faced a lot this year. One dinner a couple months ago, as we were sitting around the table praying, which was new for us and our family at dinner, and having home cooked meals where we actually sit down multiple times a week, we reflected on the wins. And we said, hey, let's write all the wins that we've had through this COVID, right? Let's celebrate some of these challenges that we faced. And the list completely outweighed the negativity, right? What we focus on, we feel. And being able to have that perspective is so critical and so important. Guide us through what happens once your college career is over. And like all great quarterbacks, you want to keep playing.
it ain't over yet. Right. What happened in that shift going into corporate until you shared with us leaving corporate and making that decision to be where you are now? Guide us through that phase of your life.
Yes. When I got done playing, so most quarterbacks, their last throw, put you on the spot, is a what?
Interception.
It's an exactly. My last throw, Azusa Pacific, November quarterfinal playoff. We end up we beat them beat them the first game of the year by like 40, crushed them. We ended up losing 35-28. Our running back time, one of my best buddies, Dan Murphy, was a monster. He was so banged up, and we didn't really weren't able to run the ball, so we had to throw it way more. I remember we ended up losing, like I said, 35-28. I got named most outstanding offensive player in that game. And my career's done, my football season's done, life's over. And they wanted me to come up and get this award. And I went up and was so mad. And I wanted to take it and Frisbee the thing so far in the woods. I could give two you-know-whats about this thing. And it didn't hit me. I'm in the locker room, showering, fly home. Then me, my wife, my girlfriend at the time, who also we met in 7th grade, which we have that in common, which is this is things meant for a reason, brother. We're supposed to talk. It's crazy.
Yeah.
We were actually at a little local bar, just having a few beers. And it's me, her, my buddy, Sean, and my lineman, Mark Dahl. And I remember I went to the bathroom to go wash my hands or something, and it just hit me. And I literally started bawling in the bathroom, like crying uncontrollably. And I was like, I'm done. Like all the years, all the weight room, all the adversity with my injury. And then I said, okay, well, maybe I'm not done yet. So I got teased in the Arena League. I had to try out with the Portland Forest Dragons, got cut. And then I got teased with the San Jose SaberCats. And then I had a chance to go play overseas. And then I was like, at the time, I'd already been working for about 7 months at a barcoding and labeling company, which I called them stickers. They weren't labels. And they didn't like that I did that, but I did. And I was like, do I want to keep playing? And I had a little bit of self-doubt. Not that I didn't believe in myself, but that was the difference. Guys like John Kitna, guys like Mike Riley, the reason why they played in next level, they had 100% belief that they were the best quarterback around. They were going to play. And I had a little bit of like, I wonder if I can play at the next level. And John Kitna would tell me, he's like, Jacox, these dudes are backing me up. You're just as good as these guys. And so it would kind of tease me a little bit, but then I would I think that was the gap. And so as I think about, once I was done, there was huge relief off my chest that I can now be focused on make business, leadership, sales, company culture, my new football. And it just was just like massive relief. And so as I think, going forward, I don't know. I don't look back. I have no regrets. Like, man, I wish I would have done that. I wish I could have done that. It's just about embracing it, enjoying. It was a great moment in time that taught me so much. But I heard a podcast recently was by Russell Wilson and Joe Montana. It was a great episode. Russell's got this thing called the Danger something podcast. And Joe Montana talked about, he goes, when he coaches people and he told his kids, he goes, the moment you don't believe in yourself is when that's danger. And you got to always believe in yourself no matter what. And actually, when I was listening to it on the way to a golf course one morning, I texted both kids and said, man, I love you guys. Always believe in yourself no matter what. And as I think back now out of corporate, it's not arrogance, but I am so confident, Luke, in what I'm doing right now. Because I know it works. I know you don't need to be an a-hole to be successful. I wrote a book called Win the Relationship, Not the Deal, since I've left corporate. And I write about 6 common sense things to be successful in life and business. I write about the power of the golden rule. I write about expectation management and follow through. Do what you say, do it, right? Your word matters. I write about listening versus hearing, right? Put your phone down, look someone in the eye, right? Don't be distracted. I write about the power of documenting what you hear and what you say, so you remember what you talked about with somebody. I write about ditching your ego. You mentioned Ryan Holiday. I quote him multiple times in my book. Love that. Love his stuff. I write about that authenticity, self-awareness, being able to be coached. And lastly, I write about patience. Like any good relationship over time is going to take time. And now as I'm coaching executives, sales teams, as I'm speaking, I'm going to start speaking with the folks at Limitless Minds, which Harry Wilson and Russell Wilson's company, which I'm just beyond humbled that I got asked to join these guys in some facet. And it's about massive belief that I know what I do matters. And that's the difference between where I'm at now at 44 versus where I was at 21. I don't have self-doubt because I can back up everything I've done. I got great relationships with my kids because I'm walking the walk. And when I mess up, I own it. I apologize. I'm far from perfect. I got so many gaps, and I think that's just the beauty of life and relationships is it's such a gift you can give yourself. When you mess up, just own it and or ask for help. What I've been doing, I asked help from my wife recently. I think I talked to you about, I was about to hire a coach and I ended up not doing it. And as we talked through it, it's not because we didn't want to spend the money. It was because it was wrong time, wrong. And I responded back to this gentleman who's an absolute stud. He's like, man, I love you, brother. When you're going to be ready to get on the court, I know you're going to be ready. I commend you for taking the path you did. And just, it's just a freeing spiritual gift we give ourselves by just giving yourself that grace and being able to surrender to the moment. So I know I just went on a tangent, but I got a lot of stuff in my heart.
No. That's great. I love hearing it as you shared, and we both have. I was on your podcast just an hour ago, so we've shared some of these conversations to a certain extent.
Mm-hmm.
There's a couple things I want to call a timeout on before we keep going here. You mentioned neutral thought, and
Mm-hmm.
you're a Pacific Northwest guy. It Takes What It Takes by Trevor Mowat. Tell us about that ideology, as this is Russell Wilson's mental coach. This whole neutral thought is somewhat new in my own perspective, because we've been taught positive thinking, optimistic, go, 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 yes, yes, yes. But this is a different perspective.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
I've not yet met Trevor. I hope to meet him in the future, but and ironically, that book is on order for me, so I will be reading that. For me, and as I dive in deeper with these great individuals, it's reminded me about the times I've had to be neutral without knowing I was neutral. Meaning that, so I came from the staffing and recruiting and consulting industry. It's always easy to blame somebody. Your client stinks. Your consultant does this. They lost budget. You can always point the finger, right? And so for me, neutral thinking means I know reality. I know what's happening, but I'm going to accept it. Then I'm going to quickly move on from it. And early in my career, so I worked for this company called K-Force. They bought the company I was with initially called Hall Kenyon. And I was such an optimist to the point of naive optimism. So I took these markers like our daughters might have in their kids, and you can write on windows where they're erasable. And I wrote team optimism all over the windows. And I told the people in my office, if you ever say something negative that we don't have control over, you're going to owe me 5 burpees in the office. I don't care what you're wearing. Mm-hmm. And so as I'm thinking about this neutral thinking, it's like, yes, our client lost budget. Let's move on. Let's be positive. Until the governor of the state of Washington, the president of the United States says, okay, everybody, every company out there, mandatory hiring freeze, all your budget, turn it over, throw it away. There'll be no economic growth. There'll be no job, nothing. That's the day I'm going to freak out. Until that happens, we have to be neutral with our thoughts and own it, embrace it, and then focus on what do I have control over? My attitude, my effort are 2 things I have control over. And choosing to, even when it's tough, to figure out, how can I get to this next thing? How can I, if I don't have goals, how can I write things down? What habits do I have right now that aren't generating good outcomes that are going to give me that positive goal I want to achieve? Right. And so for me, without doing too much research yet, we asked me that question in a couple months after I get done reading the book. Neutral thinking is just about embracing what's going on, but then focusing on where I want to go. And I think back to your question about football, playing quarterback, I had to be neutral as all neutral. 3rd and 17 and make a deep stop route. Stop route, it's like a deep 18-yard comeback, first down, boom. I either can jump up and down, try to do a backflip, wave to my mom, hey mom, do you see that throw? It's awesome. Or get back in the huddle and do it again. And my college football coach said, when you're good, you're going to tell everybody. When you're great, they're going to tell you. And I love that quote. You know, it's such a powerful.
That's very powerful. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And this whole idea around, neutral thought comes from one of your guests, as you mentioned, Harry Wilson, his brother, a very famous quarterback. This is his mindset coach. And so this book was given to me last year about that idea around neutral thought. And we can kind of peel back a few layers. We look at guys like Belichick, right? Never get too happy, never get too sad. Phil Jackson, never get too high, never get too low. Understanding that neutral oftentimes is the best way to respond. We talk about it in some of our Fathers of the Future programs of having a switch. And 99% of the time, the switch is off. We don't need to use, but that 1%, that one time, we got to turn up. We got to kick the intensity up. We got to flip that switch on and handle this situation differently than how we normally operate. And so I look at all thought, and we go a little bit deeper into the analysis and psychology and psychotherapy of this is all it is a thought. And so I've created this mini matrix, which is really simple. It's to separate your thought from your feelings, from the emotion that it creates, from the action. Thought, feeling, emotion, action. I'll have some pretty bad thoughts. I mean, wicked. We're talking like Tarantino on some some heavy psychedelics for days at a time. And then I go, whoa. How did that thought make me feel? It made me feel excited or scared or worried. Okay, great. And then what's the emotional residue? What's coming next? Well, that then will either make me feel warm and fuzzy or cold and dark. Okay, what's left? The action I either take or I clearly decide not to take, right? Road rage is one of those where I'm constantly telling people, the thought, the feeling, the emotion, there is no action, but you could go through that whole process. If your kid triggers you, I talk about spilled milk all the time. Literally, my daughter spilled chocolate milk in the backseat of my truck and didn't tell me for a few days. And this is in the middle of the summer. So it smells like dead bodies in my truck. And I remember the moment where she says, "Daddy, I spilled chocolate milk." And I was like, well, we're going to have to fix this because this is bad.
We got to get a new truck.
Right? New interior. We kept the truck, but we had to get new interior, new carpet. And I tell that story oftentimes to men who they'll lose their cool. They'll go from thought to action. We talk about this a lot in our programs when we get into some of the suicidal tendencies that human beings have. Oftentimes, if this is the first thought you've ever had, the problem is that people don't go deep enough to realize that this is just a really terrible thought, but they go from thought to action or thought from feeling to action. But if you could just slow it down and break it down and go, God, that's a bad thought. I'm not going to act on that. I don't want to act on that. I love my life, right? Then you can start to put things into categories or buckets that separate it all from just being one long movie. Right. And it's not, right? It's chapters, it's episodes, it's evolutions, it's endings and new beginnings, it's change, it's shifting, all of these different pieces that as men, we're not used to being able to go and do. Right. And I want to talk a little bit next now about your fatherhood journey as it relates to your own father.
Yep.
I know we didn't get a chance to talk about that on your show, but I want to talk about it here. Tell us, what has your father been to you, and what are you guys going through right now as a family?
Yeah. So my dad, funnier than heck, always the life of the party, worked his tail off. He sold washers and dryers for Whirlpool. Some weekends he was gone. He had to work different hours. This is like the 80s salesman where you were doing like martini lunches, and I didn't know. And, my dad eventually was an alcoholic. I never saw it. I never felt it. It was like, if your dad's gonna be an alcoholic, best type that you could be. because, you know, I never knew it. Right. And so like, as he got later in life and where he's at now, like he'd shared some of the journals that like he would pound bottles of wine, like pound them, throw up before we'd get home from school. Like, it's just like, wow. But, you know, super loving. I don't remember him forcing me to like do this, do that. He just would, you know, subtle reminders about reminding me about what the goals I wanted to do. You know, in college football, he traveled. You know, my mom and dad were super loving. They traveled to a bunch of my games. Later, when my parents got divorced in college, my mom wasn't able to travel a bunch. My dad did. And, you know, I still remember like we're on like a chartered white plane out of Yakima, Washington, flying to Texas. And my dad wants to go. And I'm like a third string quarterback, but he wasn't going to miss it just in case I got in. And he's just like, you know, like think Tommy boy, you know, fat guy in a little coat, blazer, like that's my dad's rocking, you know. And as he got later into his, you know, dementia and bipolar and diabetes and overweight, all the rap sheet he's going through. I mean, we started to see kind of the signs in college where like it'd be me and my two roommates, and all of a sudden he'd drop by, and all of a sudden he's in a Winnebago. I'm like, what the heck is he rolling Spaceballs for? Like, what is this thing? And he's like, he'd sell a bunch of stuff. He'd rock this thing. And things weren't quite right. And then he would make like 3 dozen cookies, like tons. And like most people think cookies, we're thinking chocolate, chip, peanut butter, like something normal. My dad would just like throw in random stuff, like stuff that didn't even make sense, like chocolate, broccoli. I'm like, what the heck is this? This is atrocious. Like, and I can't remember what ingredients were, but like something again was not, this might've been the old booze cooking skills. And, you know, I never met my dad's dad died when he was 6. So I never got to meet my grandpa. You know, my kids, thankfully, when he was somewhat with it, they saw grandpa as, you know, grandpa, but now he's in an assisted living facility. You know, when my wife had been married for 21 years. And when the day of my wedding, my dad's brother says, "Hey, Case, you guys might want to think about getting a 2-bedroom apartment so your dad can live with you." And I was like, that's not going to happen. You know, God love him. But like now, like in marriage, it's my wife's 1, my kids 2, my parents 3, like in that order. And I know it might sound bad to people, but like without my wife, I don't have kids. Right. And so, I mean, I love all 3 of them, but like, that's my pecking order right now. And, but you know, it's been hard, man. And I think as you think about vows to death do you part, sickness and health, like my wife has been the best godsend for me. Like there's been times where I literally took the phone and threw it against the couch because I was so frustrated. I couldn't, and my his stuff is all self-induced. You know, that's why, you know, fitness, mindset, health, all these things. And, you know, my dad was sick. You know, I don't have mental health challenges, knock on wood yet. Hopefully I won't. But, you know, the bipolar disease is one that's definitely rocked him. And I think that the biggest difference between me and my dad is, you know, my dad is a guy that used to say, I need to, I should to, I have to. And I am, I will, or I won't. It's like that action oriented, that's different. And, you know, what's fun now though, it's, I interviewed, before I say this, so like the dementia is really bad right now. So like, we haven't seen my dad in 8 months, which is sad, but I have peace because I know I've done everything I can. My wife's done everything I can because of COVID. And we're not, his case had just exploded cases. And so, and miraculously, I don't know how he did not get it, but he didn't. But sometimes like my kids, when we used to go see him, he'd say, "Hey, Case, I got good news." I'm like, "Oh yeah, what's going on, Dad?" "Just got back from Alaska, tons of fish. We killed it." I'm like, "Hey, what? How'd you go to?" And I was like, the dementia. Or he'll say, "Got great news." Like, "What's going on?" It's like, "Got my grades back, 4.0 Central." I'm like, "Really? You enrolled? Wow." And so now instead of like fighting it, I become a character in his mind, and we let him live it. And at first I thought it was like being, you know, like not sincere. And I talked to his doctors and they said, "No, that's what you have to do." Just because when you try to argue with someone who's that irrational and not in a mental state, it's going to make it worse. We just go with it. And, one of my favorite moments on this last year, I had the chance to interview Michael Gervais. on the Finding Mastery. It was probably one of the highlights of my podcast. And I talked to his support person. And that day was one of the first days we did a Zoom call with my dad. And, doing a Zoom call with a guy that's all his stuff was a challenge, but all of a sudden he kind of sees us, the computer, he sees the Zoom, he goes, "I love you guys. I miss you. I love you." Clear as day. And I can't tell you the last time I heard my dad say he loves us. And it damn near brought me to tears. And I remember, so right after I got that like kind of deep emotional experience, I tell Michael Gervais' support person, Sandy, I said, "Sandy," she's like, "Casey, how you doing today?" "Sandy, I'm doing awesome." She says, "Why?" I said, "Well, I just got off a Zoom call with my dad and he said he loved me and I haven't heard it in years. And it's awesome." She's like, and I go, "I have no idea why I'm sharing with you, but I'm just going to," and that's who I am as a person. I overshare, but I think that's also my gift, which is why I build relationships with people. And she's like, "Casey, my mom died of dementia 2 years ago."
Wow.
And so she and I, who was supposed to be a 5-minute prep call, talked for 45 minutes about our parents, about our dad. And so it was like this therapeutic thing of like, hey, just reassurance that we've done everything we can. I mean, like, this could be a whole nother, I'm talking, we've moved him in and out of assisted living facilities 4 or 5 times. Stories of like in the heart of my business when it was taken off, like I'm in a U-Haul van, moving him out of a storage facility, pulled off on the side of the road to like have a conference call, close a large deal, get back on the truck and keep going. Like, it's like movie type stuff. So, but in anything, I use like, this is adversity for us as a family, but I tell our kids, like, this is why dad and mom exercise. This is why we take care of our health. This is why we tell you we love each other. This is why communication is important to us. This, it's like, we're going to talk and communicate because I don't want to end up that way. I don't want to, and he didn't do it on purpose. But I'm not going to make him feel bad about it. I love him. And I don't want to you have to take care of me in that fashion. That's my goal.
So much gratitude for sharing that, not only with me, but with the listeners, man. I talk about it all the time, right? Like, small talk is for small people. I want that door to always be open, and I'm going to have as in vulnerable conversations as the other person is willing to. Mm-hmm. But if you come in that door with me, I'm gonna open that door wide open, because that's what we need. Mm-hmm. And I talk about this a lot. This is the one time in your life you're going to have to manage up and down. Where we are in our 40s as men, fathers, we're going to have to be leading up and down. And that's the circle of life. As we start to shift into that older version, this is now that time. It's very unique. A lot of stress, a lot of pressure. A lot of the men that I work with that have been on this podcast, right, dealing with mom and dad, or mom or dad, it's hard. Mm-hmm. And I just thank you for sharing that with us, because I don't know what that's like. I talk about it every Christmas. I'm lucky. My parents are gone. And I say that now, but I am really lucky to not have to deal. I got a client who has, 4 families on his side and 4 families on that side. And that unique Thanksgiving, Christmas is mayhem. Mm-hmm. We decide what we want to do. I got a mother-in-law. My father-in-law lives in Beirut. My parents are gone. And so I don't have to manage up, but I can feel the stress, and I can feel it because it weighs on us. Mm-hmm. Right? Not only are you having to take care of your own kids, you're having to take care of the people that took care of you. Yeah. And that's where we can lose sight of our focus. So it's powerful to hear you and your wife on board, together in unity of, this is why we do this, mm-hmm. mentally, physically, spiritually, financially. Financial hardships in senior citizens is heartbreaking in my mind, right? I saw a guy barely walking at Chick-fil-A to give my daughter her crack, which is Chick-fil-A. It's pretty much what it is for her. And it brings you down for a moment to think, man, this guy doesn't want to be serving kids chicken, right? Right. He didn't do the work, or something may have happened. I don't know his story, but we can control what we can control, and everything else we let go of. So to hear how you're controlling what you can, number 1, your wife, number 2, your kids, number 3, your parents, mm-hmm. where do you fit into this?
That's a good question. I mean, I'm probably intertwined in all that. somewhere. I work out every day. I do a daily scripture every day. I do a gratitude journal every day. I do a daily, this thing I got from my friend Colin Henderson, who it's a little daily inner size, he calls it. We do exercise, we don't do inner size. And it's a 4-minute meditation. I do, well, kind of meditation. It's more of, it's a minute of breathing. Second minute is I have statements, not like these could be emotional, physical. And sometimes I like to talk like forward thinking, like I have an opportunity to impact the listeners on Luke's show. I have an opportunity to be patient with my kids today. I have an opportunity to be an amazing father today. I have an opportunity to be organized, to be whatever it may be. The third minute is I am statements. So positive things I'm talking about, like things I know I'm good at, I want to continue to be good at. And the last minute is I will statements. So forward thinking things I'm going to tell myself what I'm going to do. And for me, like that alone, I like getting up earlier because my wife's more of a night owl, that for me just I set the tone. When I go outside, like I'm in Eastern Washington right now, and it was freezing, like 25 this morning, but the sun looking at these little rolling hills was just gorgeous. And I was like, man, what a gift that I get to see this right now. Like those. So I think for me, I do those things every morning that helps me set the tone for the day.
Gratitude is a superpower. To hear your podcast with Harry Wilson, Russell Wilson's brother, and how you started with gratitude and that he buys into that from a professional standpoint, I thought was unique. When my clients enroll, onboard, begin, they get the 5-minute journal, the gratitude journal as part of their onboarding. It's been a game changer. Now, we can't just have gratitude and think that that's going to be the end all be all. It has to be in conjunction, right? Your power snatch from the ground this morning has to be in conjunction with your planks, right? They work even better when they're collectively working at the same time.
Yeah.
And so gratitude is a phenomenal way to start any meeting, any conversation, any challenges that you're facing. Is like, what is the bright side? Oh, the sun is shining. Wow. You mean if I could just have a little bit of gratitude for the sun shining and me being able to see that, that's going to help empower and impact my day?
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
Well, Harry, yesterday he posted on social media, they're doing a gratitude challenge for limitless minds. And so people don't know, I'm not sure when this episode's going to come out, but maybe you and you can check it out. And you want to talk about who and why you're grateful. And then tag, think big, go far, tag limitless minds. And I was thinking about this. I didn't want to do the easy one. Like I'm grateful for my family. I'm grateful for my wife. And before we recorded today, even you on my show, I'm going to give a shout out to my buddy's dad. I almost didn't play football in high school because I was, 6'1", 134. This is when you were like out bench me by 20 pounds because I can only get up 115, right? And when I told him in 9th grade before my sophomore year, he goes, "Hey, I don't think I'm going to play football, Chuck." His name is Chuck Lewandowski. I said, "I don't think I'm playing." He goes, "What do you mean you're not playing football?" I'm like, I don't know. You're playing football. You're going to play quarterback and you're a good quarterback. And I was like, really? Okay, I guess I'll play. Like just that alone, I thought about it. So I'm going to record a video, post it on my social media and give him a shout out. And like, and I'm going to call him, try to get his number and call him, tell him thank you. Just like, to me, like, I don't have to do that, but think about the gift I give him, right? I mean, knowing that I don't think I've ever thanked him for it. And that's the difference between like recognition and appreciation. Guy named Mike Robbins, who I mentioned to you earlier, recognition is, here's $20, son, you just mowed the lawn, congrats. Or you sold the most lemonade, congrats, here's the recognition. Appreciation costs nothing, right? Like I talk about in my book, first chapter, just treat people the way you want to be treated and start each day with gratitude, a gift. So I'm going to tell that story on social. I'll post it later today.
Yeah, I love it.
Love
it. Being proud and love. I asked my wife last week, do we say I love you too much from her perspective to the kids?
Oh, okay.
Because we all say I love you, but the kids and I, again, huge gap. My mom loved me, but the years of someone telling you how great you are,
Right.
how loved you are, how proud they are of you. You know, whether I missed it or I wasn't paying attention to it, I tell my kids constantly how much I love them, how well they're loved, even when they get up. And that's why I had to ask my wife. It's when they get upset or we get upset that they use it. Is that love, or are they using that? Dad, hey, I want to sleep over at my friend's house. Can I sleep over? I know I've slept over 2 weekends in a row, and I know both of them were at someone else's house, which is your rule. It's got to be every other. Can I stay the night? Yeah, go for it. I love you. Okay. Right. If we're using it in that sense, can they play with it a little bit? Sure. But who cares? It's like giving a homeless person money. I've had this conversation on my show, and somebody going, well, what if they use it on drugs, or what if they use it on alcohol, or what if they buy cigarettes? Okay. I'm not giving it to them with an expectation of how they use it. I'm giving it to them because of not only how it makes me feel, because I know it can help them even for a moment.
Right.
So telling your kids how much you love them and how proud you are of them is something that we have to engrave in our hearts and our minds for the rest of our lives. It's a superpower, and throw gratitude in that thing. I'm going to read you something, and I want you to steal it. I want everyone to steal it. As long as you live by it, steal it. I read this in a book a couple weeks ago, and I've started owning it. I wrote it in my journal. What is my message, my why? And I put the power of connection through vulnerability, what we've just done right here now in 2 consecutive hours. And then it says, I exhibit an extraordinary capacity for inspiring confidence in others. That's what I wanted as a young man. Someone to inspire confidence in me, also known as certainty. Yes, you're doing the right thing. Yes, you're headed down the right road. Yes. Ooh, be careful. It's dark over there. It's a little painful. It's going to get hard. But having a vision guide, having a support system, that sentence, as it's now gotten to be a part of my life, I want it to remind us all that you don't have to be a lecturer or a keynote speaker to exhibit an extraordinary capacity for inspiring confidence in others. You just got to do it. Mm-hmm. And that's what we all have to do. We have that ability, and not just in our own kids, but in society. I got an older couple across the street. They're in their 70s. Every time I see them on their bike or their tennis rackets, good job, guys. Good work. Yeah. It's like that little bit.
Yeah. You made me think about, we were in Hawaii a couple years ago, and we're trying to do, some kind of fitness workout. And I saw these stairs. I'm like, I'm gonna go run some stairs, do some push-ups. That'll be fun. So I did that. Yeah, I did say fun. That makes me weird to some people, but I love working out. So like I did stairs, and all of a sudden this old dude shows up, and he's got to be north of 70. And he runs one, and then he walks 3, runs one. And I'm like, and I was like, come on, let's go, keep going. And we're like cheering each other on. I said, man, you've inspired the you-know-what out of me today. He's like, how? I'm like, if I'm doing what you're doing at 70, man, life is great. Life is great. If I'm playing golf, it's like, and it's when I see old people playing golf, man, look at you. You can walk, you carry your bag. Like what old dude can carry their golf bag 18 holes? What a gift, right? Like, even if you shoot the worst round, like my dad is 76, 77, wheelchair, vegetable, no idea where he is, right? I want to be playing golf at 90, right? I want to be walking at 90. I want to be doing something like fitness is, and that's like, I don't know, you maybe think of that story.
Live your life story you want it to be.
Yeah.
Right. And that's the power of these tools.
Yeah.
There's something about journaling, and I'm going to talk about that in a later episode of this solitude journey that I took to Maui a couple weeks back on another show. But I got so much clarity in not being ingrained in the day-to-day operations of life.
right? We talked about this on the Quarterback Dadcast earlier on your podcast about how this morning was a win for me because of breakfast and lunch and getting my kids off to work.
Yeah.
Well, that's a high priority task, especially when my wife's out of town. Writing who I am and what must I become is not a high priority task, but it's so valuable when you can hit the pause button, go and be alone for just a little while, a day, a night, a couple days, and answer some of these deep-rooted questions that nobody can answer for you, right? Your collective, your home, you can make a group decision as to where you're going to eat or where you're going to travel or what you're going to do, or should you get a new couch or wait and get a new car, right? It's a collaboration. It's a collective. But nobody can do that for who you are and who you want to become and how long you want to live. Now, it's not up to us, but if you can start to say, I want to play golf at 90. I want to live in a blue zone. I want to move to Maui when my kids are off in college so that I can live a happier, healthier life. Do it. Write it down. Go for it.
Yeah. You mentioned something earlier about visualization. And one thing I do a lot, I've actually, huge shout out to Coach Marty Osborne. When I was 16, back to this quarterback story, like I wrote down my goals, like bench, squat, clean. And he told me, like, if I do these types of things, you get better in these areas, you're going to be our starting quarterback. And I was like, okay. I still remember that. Like, that's why we used to do vision boards, and my vision boards in Seattle. And so, like, I would pictures of things I wanted to do. And I first heard that, I was like, what is this? Arts and crafts? Come on. Like, didn't have the best attitude about it. And I was like, damn, everything on that board I did this year. There's a guy named Sean Thompson who he's got this thing. You should check him out. He's got this thing called the Father's Code. And he's got a very, very inspirational, sad story about losing his first son to an accidental suicide. His second son, I think his second son is now Luke, I think. But they talk about 12 lines of code that you talk about. These are I will statements. And so I recommend checking out. I'm looking at mine right now, but it's like, I'll read them to you real quick. It says, I will always show you how much I love your mother, my wife. I will always protect you. I will always teach and inspire you. I will show you the importance of hard work. I will love you with all my heart. I will always listen to you. I will let you be your own person. I will bring positive energy to our family. I will always laugh and create an environment filled full of happiness. I will always be confident yet humble. I will always teach you to be the best version of yourself. I will back up my guidance and teachings with my own personal stories of success and failure.
Yeah, love it.
Hashtag Sean Thompson.
Yeah,
check him out.
Love it for sure. We've got a creed, Fathers of the Future creed. I'm not gonna say it right now, but it's so important to write your mission, your values, your I wills, your I ams, your I musts down on paper.
Yeah.
And not enough of us do that. We don't. We get busy. So from two dads who are in the coaching space, in the personal empowerment, we're saying, guys, write down your thoughts, your ideas, write down your wishes and your wants, write down your gaps, but spend some time with a pen and a notepad and go deep into yourself. That's what the key is in this self-work that we both practice.
Yep. And I like saying it's not self-help because that sounds weak.
Yeah.
It makes me feel bad. So I say it's self-investment.
Love it.
My book, I've been joking with Amazon, like, can I get in my own category, in the self-investment category? Like, that's what I'm doing. I'm not helping myself. I'm investing in myself. Right? We think you get done with school, you think you're done. No, keep learning, keep growing.
Lifelong learners.
Oh,
Casey Jacox, Win the Relationship, Not the Deal. You can find his book on Amazon. You can check out his website at caseyjacox.com, CASEYJACOX.com. You can hire him for speaking, for coaching, and you can follow his podcast, the QB Dadcast. My brother Casey, I truly appreciate you for being here and going deep. Back-to-back podcast.
Yeah.
You can check out my episode number
46.
46 on the QB Dadcast, episode 61 on the Fathers of the Future experience. My brother Casey, I truly appreciate you for being here.
This has been fun. Thank you so much.
Thank you. If you got something out of this show, this episode, this experience, if you enjoyed it, all we ask in return is that you simply pay it forward. Send it to a friend, share it on your social media, email it out. And if you really loved it, give us a 5-star rating and review on iTunes. Casey Jacox, Luke Kayam, the Fathers of the Future podcast. We appreciate you guys for being here today. Peace.